I would rather break a bone than herniated disc, and here's why. When you break a bone, it's really no surprise that you're in pain, and frankly, you kind of know what to expect. There's going to be a lot of aching and swelling. Your goal as the proud new owner of a broken bone is simply to not move. And so long as you don't smack your cast off of something hard and immobile, you should be fine. But with a herniated disc and nerve pain in general, there are no rules.
There's no rules!
That's because, as I'm sure any of you who have sat on your leg for too long have discovered, there are many different symptoms that come along with nerve pain, from burning to numbness to tingling. And if you've ever been so lucky to sit on your leg long enough or fall asleep on your arm to the point that even the thought of breathing makes it hurt as it comes back awake from that pins and needles feeling, then you at least have a little bit of solace in knowing, hey, this will go away after a little bit. I just need to give it time because I slept on it funny. But what's terrifying and what makes these nerve symptoms feel permanent is whenever it seems like you did absolutely nothing and then suddenly you start to have these feelings, or lack of feelings. That's why today I want to talk about what these different symptoms mean, what can be prolonging your recovery, and also things that you need to be aware of that might be signs of permanent damage if not treated quickly. But if you've already been diagnosed as having a cervical disc herniation and would like to start learning exercises that you can do at home to help recover and stabilize your neck, go down into the description and download the free module for the cervical disc herniation blueprint. In there, we'll be showing you the correct steps for getting started at recovering from a cervical disc herniation and exercises that can be performed to help increase cervical stability and reduce nerve irritation. Or if you're in the Pittsburgh area and would prefer coming to the office, there's also a link for the office schedule down in the description as well. But for now, let's get back into explaining why you have those nerve sensations. When it comes to nerve symptoms, burning, numbness, and tingling tend to give people the idea that that nerve is pinched off and is starting to die. They think that because they have these altered symptoms that something terrible has happened, and that is completely understandable because whenever I had my disc herniation, my first thought was, oh crap. It's this immediate sense of dread that something terrible has happened and it's not going to be an easy fix. You just instinctively know it. But what's really going on to cause those symptoms? Well, think of your nerves like a fire hose. While we tend to think of our nervous system as an electrical system, and it is, it's done so by propagating a signal through ion channels, meaning that we have an influx and outflux of different ions that move down the axon, the long part of that nerve. And you can most easily think about this as water coming through a fire hose. If you leave it completely unobstructed, it just comes out and everything's clear and there's no problems. It's speedy and everyone's happy. But if somewhere along that line you crimp that hose, or you put pressure on the hose, or you put your thumb over the end of it, then what you end up getting is a distortion of the final product. Instead of the water coming out smooth and controlled, it either goes all over the place, it bubbles inside the hose, and then instead of a smooth stream, you're getting that lurching or gurgling whenever the water's spitting out at the end and killing your begonias. So then, what does that mean for a nerve? How does that translate into a biological system? Well, if you've ever crossed your legs until your foot goes numb, you know exactly what this feels like. You put pressure on a nerve for a long period of time, and then you start getting a distorted signal as to what your leg is actually feeling. But the good news is you can uncross your leg. What happens when you can't remove the irritant in the case of a disc bulge or an extrusion? That actually brings us to a question. Is the nerve irritated or is it compressed? In the case of crossing your legs, what we have is a short-term compression. Another thing that tends to happen to people is they sleep on their arm wrong. And if you've ever mastered the art of sleeping on your arm wrong like I have, sometimes you'll wake up the next day and you can't fully lift your arm. Similarly, if you grew up with mean friends or siblings, if you've ever experienced a dead arm where someone punches you in the shoulder and it doesn't work right for a little bit, similar situation. We are experiencing compression and trauma to that nerve, which temporarily disrupts the signal. But there are two key words there. The first one, temporarily, and the second one, disrupts. Because in the case of something a little bit longer standing, like a disc bulge or stenosis, then the compression is no longer temporary. And in the case of something like a disc sequestration or extrusion, we are no longer working with a signal disruption, we are working with a signal distortion. So, in the case of a disc bulge, when we are fully cutting off the signal between the brain and that end nerve, this would be like putting your thumb over the end of the hose. It's not bad if you do it for a brief moment, but if you do it for long enough, you're gonna have problems. Distortion, on the other hand, would be like crimping the hose just enough that the water's still coming out, but it's all bubbly and foamy. The water itself is a little pressurized and it's not clear anymore. It's different than what was originally going in. And so in the case of your nerve, what you perceive is a distorted signal. Rather than just feeling the normal sensation of your skin, you're feeling pins and needles, burning, tingling, numbness, things of that nature. Meaning that in the case of irritation, what we're looking at really is that nerve is typically exposed to some sort of chemical irritant. Those chemicals can be anything from the nucleus pulposus, the squishy part in the center of your disc. If it ruptures, it can come from blood, because blood is a chemical irritant for nerves. It can also come from different acids, lactic acid, arachidonic acid, substances that are released whenever there's soft tissue damage. That can be soft tissue damage in a controlled fashion, like when lifting weights, or it can be an uncontrolled fashion like trauma. But for as long as that chemical irritant remains on the nerve, you're going to continue to sustain those altered signals. Compression, on the other hand, whether it is temporary or long-term, will affect what you experience. Sustained compression that completely cuts off the signal from the nerve, you will continue to experience numbness. But if that compression is just temporary, like the case with a dead arm or falling asleep on your arm, then what you'll experience is initial loss of sensation, and then that irritation kind of feeling, that tingling, as that nerve starts to send appropriate signals that were temporarily obstructed due to the compression. But that answer still shouldn't satisfy a lot of you, because then shouldn't that mean once all the chemical irritants are gone, you should feel fine? Or once that compression is removed, everything should go back to normal? This brings us to hypersensitivity. And think of it this way. If your body can heal from something, it remembers it in a good way and it adapts. If it can't heal from it readily, it remembers it and freaks out. And so let's play a fun little game. If I went hiking for a couple of miles and I didn't have any food or snacks or whatever, but it was all volitional, I chose to do that, nothing bad's going to happen to me. I'm going to enjoy that experience, I'm going to go through it, and if anything happens at all, I'll get a little bit better at hiking. The muscles will adapt, the nerves will adapt, I'll get a little bit better oxygen supply the next time I do it. But let's just say I get lost in the woods for a couple of days without enough food or anything to protect myself. I don't have a blanket, and I'm constantly being chased by bears. That is not a fun experience, and any time that I ever do anything similar to that again, it's going to trigger bad memories. Your nervous system has similar memory, where if you traumatize a nerve to a point where it can recover, it can get stronger or adapt. Think about going to a concert. When it starts, it's loud, but over time your ears adapt and it's not as bad. If, on the other hand, you constantly exposed your ears to an overly loud sound like jet engines taking off, eventually they're going to start to deafen. When it comes to nociception or pain perception, how this translates is a hypersensitivity of those nerves responsible for pain signals. If a nerve is constantly exposed to a chemical irritant or constantly exposed to compression, it starts to learn that signal. It starts to learn to send pain signals that something is wrong, even after that irritant or that compression has been reduced or finally removed. That nerve begins to think pain is not going away. So even long after the thing that originally irritated it is gone, it still sends those same panic signals. Which is why, especially when it comes to your nervous system, the wait and see method really isn't a great idea. But you might be thinking to yourself, Dr. Beck, that's fine because my nerve symptoms are never exactly the same. Sometimes it's numb in my pinky, then later it's numb in my thumb, and then other times nothing's numb, I just can't carry things, I drop them all over the place. And this, personally, is one of the most frustrating things for disc symptoms and nerve symptoms in general, is that they like to move around. Not because the nerves are moving, but because that swelling and irritation that might be causing that nerve to misfire or distort its signals is coming from muscle inflammation or other soft tissue abnormalities. And so whenever that disc bulge shifts around, or whenever that swollen muscle changes from one of your scalenes to your trap muscle, it puts different pressure on those nerves as they exit your neck. And so a lot of patients start thinking, okay, this is all moving around, it's not one problem. But in reality, it is all one problem. It's just that everything works together and everything is connected. So as one muscle starts to heal and recover, another muscle was giving it that time by over-contracting, and now it's swollen and adding chemical irritants to a nerve. And you experience changes in nerve symptoms, which in some cases is a great sign that things are healing, but in other cases we need to be aware that it might be getting worse. In the case of cervical disc herniations or bulges, mainly what we would be worried about would be worsening weakness in your upper extremity, or if you notice that the numbness is progressing, going from just 1 finger to 3 fingers to 5 fingers in a matter of hours or days. If it's getting worse, then that's not a sign you're recovering, it's a sign you should probably go to a hospital. Scratch that, for liability reasons, definitely go to a hospital. But even if that herniation doesn't occur in your neck, if it happens elsewhere down the spine, you may have other symptoms such as loss of bowel or bladder control, and also saddle paresthesia, which is a fancy way of saying the area where a horse's saddle would touch your inseam and groin is going numb or has alterations in sensation. If you're experiencing any of those, you need medical attention. But if you're not experiencing any of those symptoms and you've already been diagnosed as having a cervical disc herniation, go down into the description and check out the Cervical Disc Recovery Blueprint. In that blueprint, we will be going through 4 phases to an appropriate cervical disc recovery protocol, taking your neck all the way through restabilizing, strengthening, and finally through stability to ensure that you never re-injure that same area. If you would like to fix your neck conservatively without surgery, follow the free link down in the description to see if that doesn't reduce your symptoms. And with that, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm Dr. Beck. I hope this video helped you get a better understanding of what's going on when you're experiencing numbness or tingling after a disc herniation. And if you got value out of this video, leave it a like so it helps other people find this video as well, so that this channel can continue to help other people make the best of their one life.